Right, so welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another epic podcast with your host, Timmy25. That's me, guys. That's me. I'm Timmy25, and welcome back to your weekly podcast. That's right. This is meant to be for Friday, last week's show, but we had to postpone it because of some untold issues. So we are here for last Friday on a Wednesday. I know, what a day to do it. We will be here for this Friday on time, at the right place, at the right time, so be sure to be here for Friday's podcast. We'll be here as normal. This is the show that was meant to happen last week on Friday, but we've had to postpone it until today. We were meant to do it on Monday. I couldn't do it on Monday. We were meant to do it yesterday. Couldn't do it yesterday. So we pushed it to today, and it's an early one. That's right. Gives everybody a chance to watch the show while we're doing it live for you guys over at twitch.tv and YouTube. Obviously, I can't begin this little podcast without saying a massive shout out to the first person to smash in the door with the first comment, the first view, and the first like. Obviously goes to Vote YT. Second in place, Denny Zazizi. And third, Mr. Brian Lloyd. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also over at twitch.tv, we ain't got nobody over there over the moment, but I'm sure they're just waking up right now, scratching their eyes, going, what? T4's running a podcast at this time in the morning? Well, yes, it's afternoon over here in the UK. But I know it's very, very early over in the United States of America and many other parts of the world. Some people are actually a lot later in the day. Some people, it's really like 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 or even 6. So I just want to say thank you very much for everybody who's joined us on today's podcast. Thank you for the 5 viewers who are currently watching us live. You are all great. You are all awesome. And hopefully you guys will jump into the conversation as we drop down with today's podcast and what we've got lined up for you guys. It should be pretty interesting. We have got a few things to talk about on today's podcast. It's very interesting. Before I start, obviously, we've got to say a massive shout out to the sponsors of the podcast. We've got the infamous Cinch Gaming, CD Keys, and not forgetting those infamous boys over at Razor.com, and also not forgetting the T4 Army merch. Have you got your merch yet? If you haven't got your merch, go and check out the merch shop. We got the most awesome stuff for you guys to purchase. Also over at Twitch.tv, we got G2A.com, keeping those AAA titles nice and cheap for you guys, and not forgetting G4G and Streamlabs taking care of all of those donations. If you guys fancy donating to the channel, be sure to go check out Streamlabs or G4G. Links are in the description and are dropped momentarily on the chat as we continue on today's podcast. So, we have only got one guest with us today. That's right. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. Everybody wants to be him. And that is obviously Mr. Exodus D. Exodus, what's up, young man? How you been?
Buddy, how y'all doing?
So Exodus is here with us. We haven't been able to get the other crew members on today's guests on the lineup. Some people were on, some people weren't on. Crazy Holes just jumped in. I don't know if she's going to come on. I know it's quite early over there in the United States of America. Massive shout out goes out to Shadow1855 joining us over at twitch.tv. What up, boy? Thank you for joining us over there. We have got some interesting stories for you guys, okay? Very, very interesting. And the first story is to do with Elizabeth Hurley. Now, if you guys don't know who Elizabeth Hurley is, she is beautiful. She's one of the beautiful women that everybody's like, I wish that was my mom. Actually, maybe they don't wish that. Maybe they wish that she wasn't their mom, because then they could do some serious damage. So basically, Elizabeth Hurley, this story comes from The Sun. It's a newspaper over here in the United Kingdom. And it's about, oh mom, Elizabeth Hurley wears a very revealing dress for son's Damien's 16th birthday party. The star looked jaw-dropping in a plunging dress as she wished the light of her life a happy birthday. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, let's just play a quick little clip for you guys just to get an idea of who Miss Elizabeth Hurley is all about. So let me just play this for you. Be sure to turn up your headphones so you guys can hear this loud and clear. It's a quick, brief little intro into the infamous Elizabeth Hurley. That's right, everybody. Jaw-dropping as we speak. So this was some footage that was taken prior to the actual birthday party itself. But it kind of gives you an idea of what we're talking about here. Obviously, you know, imagine that was your mom. I tell you what, I wouldn't have my friends over. I can tell you that much. Would not be having my friends over. So in this shot, you guys can clearly see the 52-year-old looked typically stunning in the low-cut gown, which dipped to her mid-riff as she posed next to her teen and beamed at the camera. So this was the controversy. Okay, this was the photo that got everybody talking. Obviously that's Elizabeth Hurley. That's her son, I can't Damien, and this is the dress that she decided to wear to her son's 16th birthday party. The question really is whether is this dress, like, if that's your mom, okay, it's your mom. Obviously, your mom is Elizabeth Hurley. She's a megastar, okay? She starred in Bedazzled, which, if you guys haven't seen it, Jesus Christ, soft core porn on the side there. You know, I mean, I'm not joking. It was an interesting film. But if that's your mom and she's wearing that kind of dress to your 16th birthday party, do we have a problem? This is the question. Do we have a problem? So the thing is, I completely understand women's rights. I completely understand women's freedom of choice, freedom of what they wear, freedom of how they look, so on and so forth. But nevertheless, I like to get everybody's opinion. I like to let you guys know what I'm thinking, and I like to know what you guys are thinking. So the thing is this too much? Are we blowing things out of proportion, or is this just, one of those things that she's just a hot mum, and hot mums, even if she wore a polo turtleneck, it would still get mentioned either way. So, obviously, being the infamous Exodus D is with me on today's show, I just want to say a massive thank you to Mr. Exodus for joining us so early in the morning over from the United States of America. Exodus, what's your personal opinion on this particular dress that Elizabeth Hurley decided to wear on the son's 16th birthday?
I mean, not completely, but to a certain extent, I get why people are saying it's too revealing, but like in a different sense, like she's a grown adult, she can wear whatever she wants, and she wants to show off. She wants to show off her great body that she has at 52. There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, the thing is, Exodus. I mean, imagine your mom, okay, turning up at your 16th birthday party dressed like that. Have you got a problem?
My mom isn't Elizabeth Hurley, though.
But imagine if she was. That's what I'm trying to say. Imagine if she was.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it would be like weird because she's my mom and stuff, but like, it can't really like. Well, I guess I could force her, but like, I can't really like. I don't. I mean, yeah. I guess I get what people are saying because it is kind of weird and in a sense a little bit wrong to wear that to a teenager's birthday party with all of his friends and stuff there.
I mean, I think the difficulty for a lot of people is where this stands. I mean, the thing is, being a mom doesn't make you automatically have to wear turtlenecks all the time. Okay, I mean, there are some mums out there who are stunning and literally. If you're stunning and we all know Elizabeth Hurley before she even had a kid. So obviously, that's the kind of woman she was anyway, where she wore revealing kind of clothing, and she is a very pretty lady, and a lot of people do find her very attractive. And who's to say? I mean, she's 52 years old in this picture, and I think at 52, she's doing pretty well. I'm not gonna lie, she's doing pretty good. Okay, for a 52-year-old still having a body that's banging like that. But the thing is, I mean, the thing is, it's one thing looking at someone from the outskirts, thinking, "Oh, you know what? She's glamorous. She's a pretty lady and whatever." But the appropriateness, it's not like a red carpet event. It's not like she's at some sort of glam event where it's required for her to dress up in such a revealing dress, I guess. It's her son's birthday party. I mean, who is she trying to impress? This is the question I really have. I mean, is it a sense of that? Is she that blinded by the fact that she doesn't? That it's nothing different. It's nothing wrong. It's just like, for some of us who might wear tank tops every day. For her, this is her version of her everyday dress. I don't know. But the thing is that I mean, like I said to you, Exodus is whether there could have been some deviation. Maybe there was too much of one thing that kind of created this fascination over the story. Or do they want to cause the controversy so that it would get blown up about the fact maybe she's been out of the limelight and she wants to get back into it or something? I don't know. I mean, the thing is, the question I really want to pass off to you guys as well, who are watching the show, is this too much for you have to imagine it being your mom? Okay, that's your mom. Okay, would you say it's fine that your mum can wear that kind of dress to your 16th birthday party, or would you feel like she should have dressed down a little bit because it isn't a red carpet event? It's my 16th birthday, she's my mom, so on and so forth. People are going to be there just like constantly talking, about whatever it is. We got a little comment coming in from Crazy Gamer Girl saying, to be honest, if that was my mom, then obviously I would be like, hey mom, come on now, like put some fucking clothes on. To be honest, it is kind of inappropriate to be dressed around like that around a bunch of 16-year-olds. So the thing is that the reason? Is that something? Exodus, what do you think? I mean, any last words on this particular little topic with Elizabeth Hurley?
I mean, the thing is though, like the dress, like she can wear dress to like put some sort of like sweater or something over it just to like cover up a little bit more. Like,
I mean, do you think people are
just put something on over it?
I mean, do you think people are hating on her because she's so pretty, and maybe they're not pretty like that?
That might be one of the reasons. Yeah, that could be a reason.
I mean, the thing is, the way I see it is that being a mom, it does come with some responsibility. Once you become a mom, there is an element of things are not the same as it was before. You were a mom. I mean, I think that there is a interesting thing about this kind of topic coming up, because if she hadn't dressed in this way, this would have never even become news. But the thing is, what's interesting is that she's getting this kind of heat. Personally, I think it's not out of her character. This is how we know her. She's never dressed any different from this. Yeah, it may seem inappropriate because it's at a birthday party, but at the same time, it's not really a big issue in my eyes, in the sense that this is how she has been anyway. I mean, I'm sure her son would have seen her in this kind of outfit before anyway. So for them, it's probably like a very normal thing. I mean, my mom, obviously, I would be like, what the fuck? But I haven't grown up around that. I haven't been raised around that, and I don't personally see it as much of an issue as probably other people will see it, because what you have to bear in mind is the context. Is people that live or know them or are friends with them or whatever, they would be probably very similar. They wouldn't be that different. And I think if that's the context we're looking at it in, is she is free. She's a fully grown woman. She's free to do what she wants. She's free to say what she wants, to dress how she feels. That's the benefit of freedom of speech and freedom of expression. But I guess that there is a fine line. It's a difficult line to judge whether it's purposefully done, tastefully done, I guess, is the interesting one. And the question I really want to pass off to you guys is two things. One, is it an inappropriate dress for a mom of 52 years old, even though she doesn't even look it, to wear at her son's 16th? And two, would you let your mom dress in that dress at your 16th birthday party? So, Exodus, last thing you want to add to this conversation before we move on?
No, I'm good.
No. Yeah, he's good. If you guys have anything you want to add to the conversation, please be sure to drop it in the conversation down below, and we'll be sure to get those in the podcast today. Okay. So moving on swiftly, we're coming to Mr. H3H3. That's right. So if you guys don't know who H3H3 is, it's Ethan from H3H3, and basically he excuse me, he made a tweet which has become a little bit transphobic. A lot of people have commented that it's transphobic. A lot of people have reacted to it with a transphobic way of thinking, and they've said that the joke that he made, it was a joke that he made, was a transphobic joke, and that it shouldn't have been done. He shouldn't have said it, and so on and so forth. He made a response video to that tweet that he made out, and I'm gonna play it for you guys because you probably haven't seen it. It's 6 minutes long. We're probably gonna play the whole thing, but I will play a majority of it. So be sure to switch up your headphones to listen to this, because this will give you the context of what we're going to be discussing in the upcoming topic. So please have a listen to Mr. Ethan Klein.
Let me start this video by telling you guys a story. Okay, there was once a guy. He was OCD, and anytime anything got a little icky, he lost his mind. He washed his hands 20 times a day. He was OCD, as you can imagine. Well, one day in a public bathroom, that his dick happened to touch the inside of the toilet bowl. That's just life, okay? But for this guy with OCD, he couldn't handle it. He had to cut it off and restart his life as a woman. Now, obviously, that's a bit of an overreaction. That's what makes it comical, okay? Now, that's the joke that I told on Twitter that had a lot of people accusing me of being transphobic. So this person wrote H3H3 is transphobic 8 times in response to my tweet, and it has 300 retweets and 1,000 likes.
This is the joke police. Put your hands in the air and log out of Twitter.
Now, this is the first time I've ever been accused of being like racist or transphobic or anything like that. One of these things where people get on the soapbox and they have to apologize, and your sponsors find out, and YouTube. It's like one of these things, right? It didn't really escalate that far, but I felt like I was under the microscope of like, hey, this guy's a bigot, or I don't know what people say. Okay, so I felt like I was thinking about it a lot because it was a really interesting experience for me, and I felt like I wanted to talk about it a little bit. So what I wrote was, my dick just touched the inside of the toilet bowl. There's no other solution. I'm cutting my dick off. Apparently the part that was really offensive that I didn't realize was that underneath I said, my name is Ellen. I'm changing my name from Ethan to Ellen, and thereby starting my life as a female because my dick touched the inside of the toilet bowl. Now I'm just gonna say this for the first time, and I'll keep repeating it, but
Just because you were offended by a joke doesn't mean that the joke was inherently offensive. Let me turn on the siren for the joke police. Hold on. Just because you were offended by a joke doesn't mean that the joke was inherently offensive.
maybe I'm being
So that gives you the lowdown. That gives you the lowdown, the context of what we're talking about today, and it's basically to do with Mr. Ethan Klein, okay, as part of the H3H3 Productions. If you don't know who H3H3 is, that's who he is, and they have their own podcast. He's been making videos for, I think, over a decade, or near enough to a decade. So he's pretty big on YouTube. He's pretty big on Twitter as well. Has quite a big following. And he made this joke, and this is the thing: is if we live in a time, if we live in a moment, if we live within a society where we believe in freedom of speech, we believe in being able to say things that may not necessarily be accepted by the mass, I guess, and we always will say something which may offend somebody or another. You know, we may say something and it offends somebody else, or we may say something else and it offends somebody else, and so on and so forth. But the thing is, he made this particular joke, as he put rightly. The backstory, as it were, was that he was on the toilet and his dick accidentally touched the side of the toilet seat bowl, and because of his OCD-ness, he chopped his dick off, and then from now on, call me Ellen. I'm now Ellen because I've chopped my dick off. So the joke is that transgender people are transgendic down there. So once they cut off their dick, they are no longer a male. They're now female, and they always change their name to whatever, to like a female name. So the way this kind of affected the transphobic or the transgender community, the LGBT community, is that what he had wrote is that everything to do with transgender, everything to do with people who are gay or homosexual or are transphobic, is to do with the body functions. So if you have a dick, you're a guy. If you have a vagina, you're a woman. So you know, and a lot of transphobic, a lot of transgender people, a lot of LGBT community people, they believe that the actual condition is in the mind. It's not actually to do with a physical aspect of their body. It's to do with something to do with their mind. So in that respect, it's sort of like what his joke is about putting like a downer. It's like making something which is serious to a lot of people who are dealing with transgenderism, who are dealing with coming out if they're gay or homosexual, or are thinking of changing genders and so on and so forth, because a lot of these people will talk about the feeling of inside themselves. So they're talking about inside their mind, inside themselves, that they don't feel like the person that they actually are. So for example, if it's a male and they actually feel like they're a woman inside, the body parts feel like it's not meant to be that way. It's meant to be in a female way. And for the female who feel like they're more masculine, the feeling is inside their mind. The real question is not about whether it's transphobic, it's not transphobic. My question really, and the conversation that I'm hoping to have with you guys, is basically whether that we are so sensitive. I mean, it's a touchy subject, don't get me wrong, but that we are so sensitive in this day and age with these things being turned into a joke, being turned into personal opinion, that we can't we have to be conscious, we have to be cautious of, if we say something, it's going to offend somebody else. If we say this thing, it's going to make this person upset. I mean, how many times have I had to hear the term Allahu Akbar, for example, being a Muslim guy? People come on my stream calling me, you know, a sand, Nigger, you know, on so many occasions it's happened. But is how you react to these things, because the thing is, if we can't make a joke out of something ourselves, I mean, obviously Ethan is a Jew, and he has to hear a lot of Jew jokes that happen on his chat, happens in his streams, that happens on Twitter as well. And I think a lot of this stuff is quite interesting to hear, that if he says something, that someone out there is going to be offended. And it's the same thing with me. I say stuff and people out there, some people are offended. Some people are not offended. Some people understand the concept of the joke, the sarcasm of the joke. It may be dark, it may be deep, it may be whatever. But, you know, what you got to bear in mind is that I always bring it back to me. I take the piss out of people who are Muslim as well, because Muslims in general do stupid things themselves at the same time. You know, they overreact on things which they shouldn't be reacting on to be honest, you know. So the thing is, I think it's there's a lot to do with that kind of thing. So really the question that I have, and hopefully Exodus will help me out and you guys will help me out as well, and let me know how you guys are thinking and how you guys are feeling about this. And I know Brian is in the chat, and Brian would be a perfect person to comment on this. And if you feel like, Brian, if you want to jump into the Discord chat, just let me know. I can actually apply you to come in, or employ you to come in. If you come into the Discord chat, I'll actually put you so you can actually join the Discord servers that we're using today on the podcast, so you can actually have your opinion heard. I would really love to hear what you have to say, because Brian is part of the LGBT community, and I think it'd be really nice to have someone represent them and have an opinion from them, so we can have a more open discussion, because that's what I like. But obviously we've got Mr. Exodus D, and Exodus, I mean, do you think, the question I really want to pass off to you, dude, is do you think that we're living in a society now where things are just taken way out of context? You know, like a joke is no longer just a joke. You've got to be careful that someone somewhere will be offended by what you have to say.
Yeah, I feel like the internet is like just way too sensitive about too many things. Like about like it's not like he said, I hate trans people. He was just making a joke. People overlooked that. They overlooked that, and like connected it to transphobic, but like he was obviously making a joke. Like you gotta look at it from like his point of view because everybody he like everybody around him and stuff knows he was just making a joke, but other people who like watch him and like know him and stuff, they all know he was making a joke. But most people like think that it's serious, and like that's like it's just it was just a joke. I don't know how else to
So,
explain it.
so do you think? I mean, obviously, what you got to bear in mind is that the video that he made came out after he made that tweet. So, do you think the tweet
Yeah,
that he made was too blunt? Like, it didn't have enough context, or did he just believe that what he said it was meant to cause some controversy? Because if you didn't know him, you would take it from a very offensive kind of stance anyway. Whereas if you knew Ethan in terms of the content that he makes, you'd be more inclined to kind of like accept or take the fact that he's just making a joke out of something.
I'm gonna be honest. I've never really watched him, but I saw the tweet when it came out, and for the first like 5 seconds, I thought, "Wow, that's what's up." But then I read it more like I read it more like thoroughly, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, he's just making a joke," but people just took it way too far. This
Mm.
like for someone that's never watched like any of his stuff, and it just took me like 5-10 seconds to realize it's just a joke.
Yeah, I mean, we have got a couple of comments. We've got one from Crazy Holes, who has said, to be honest, if oh no, that wasn't the one. It was on one after that. She said, to be honest, he's only making a joke. Yeah, people are way sensitive. At the end of the day, it was a joke. It weren't intended to make anyone feel offended. He probably didn't want to hurt anybody. It's just a joke. Brian Lloyd second on that and agreed with what Crazy Holes had to say. And Days Out TV also put in there the internet is too sensitive, and I think that's what it brings it down to. I mean, I think everybody's on the same kind of flex in the sense of it's quite funny because I find people who speak up about this stuff, people who are replying and making a deal out of these kind of things, are people who are not actual representatives of those communities. They're just people who are taking offense on behalf of those communities. And a lot of the times you'll find people who are reacting to these things in a negative way, like jokes or whatever it may be, are people who are talking on behalf of people who are actually in those communities. So they're not themselves involved in it. They're just they feel that it's offensive, so they should speak up on behalf of those people who none of them have even said a word about it, whether it is or it is not offensive. So I think it does touch a very interesting tone, and I think it makes things. I mean, the thing is, I know I've watched H3H3, Ethan and Ela on a very regular basis, and I do enjoy their shows. I enjoy their content a lot, and I don't think if you know his videos and you know his content, he doesn't really talk about things out of context. He doesn't say things to make people offense. He actually supports the LGBT community, even though being Jewish himself. He's not an Orthodox Jew. He doesn't actually practice being a Jew. It's just that's how he recognizes himself. So I think I think it is a very interesting time that we're living in now, where people are seriously taking a lot of this stuff way too serious. I think we have to kind of take a step back and realize that the only way to find that balance between people is to make sure that we come together and we speak together and we're willing and free to exchange opinions, ideas, in order to be able to get to know each other better, not to draw lines in the sand or say, oh, you know what, you shouldn't. I mean, if someone personally says something to me and I was like, look, dude, that's a bit out of line, I would just say it, and then that person deals with it however they want. But to be offended by something which is obviously a joke, is I think it makes it a little bit, for me personally, it makes it a little bit iffy. Exodus, is there anything you wanted to add to this conversation before we move on to the next topic? Oh, Exodus.
Yeah, sorry. I was talking to somebody.
Yeah, is there anything you wanted to add to the conversation before we move on?
No, not really.
Okay. Also, Crazy Gaming Girl 95 said people are way too quick to jump to conclusions. If anybody has any problems, they then can express it. They have every right to their opinions. Days Out TV also put, but it's pretty irritating when it touches the toilet. Lol. It is a little bit
True.
irritating. That's one thing. That's one thing. I'm sure a lot of people, if they use a public toilet at some point and it has happened, you probably feel like you want to cut your dick off and call yourself Jenny from now on. But anyway, so we'll move on from that conversation. Thank you very much for everybody's opinion. I'll pass the question off to you guys. If you feel you want to add something to the conversation, please let me know. If your dick touched the toilet bowl, would you want to cut it off and call yourself Ellen? And also, second, is this just the internet being way too sensitive over a very simple and quite funny joke? I mean, Brian, being from the LGBT community, thinks it's a joke. So, what do you guys think? If you're part of that community, let me know in the comments down below. Whether you're watching us live, whether you're watching the video on playback. Next, we have got this really amazing substitute teacher. I wish substitute teachers like this existed back in the day. We have this teacher called, his name is Ryan Fisher. Ryan Fisher is a teacher who has been accused of running a student fight club in classes. So what Ryan has decided to do all by himself is for those students who feel that they have a problem with each other or have some sort of beef with each other, is to have an actual fight, is to fight it out in the classroom, and he would monitor the fight. So he's just bear this in mind, he's a substitute teacher. So let me just read this article to you guys quickly before we start. So in Montville, a former substitute math teacher is charged with supervising a student fight club at a Connecticut high school. Police say cell phone videos show 23-year-old Ryan Fish encouraging students as they slap each other in the middle of the classroom at Montville High School. Fish pleaded not guilty on Thursday to charge including reckless endangerment and risk of injury to a minor. He had denied facilitating the fight and says he thought the students were just being rambunctious. Fish was fired in October. Police began investigating in December after a student told a social worker he had been beaten at school. Superintendent Brian Levistik tells the Day newspaper he didn't alert police after firing Fish because he knew the only one fight and thought it was an isolated incident. Also, an arrest warrant says Fish watched the students and even moved trash cans out of the way so students had room to fight. According to the station, when police asked Fish what happened during class, he told them he would let them be teenagers and let them get their energy out. Interesting. That's what he would do. Let them get their energy out. I love it. That's just great. That's just perfect. That's exactly what you want to hear. So Ryan Fish, Exodus D. Ryan Fish, the substitute math teacher who made his own version of Fight Club in the classroom. What do you think of Mr. Ryan Fish as a substitute teacher?
I mean, I've heard of there was back a couple years ago there were two daycare teachers that did that, but this is actually in a school where the kids know how to they know how to punch and stuff, and it's just so many ways they should have all just ganged up on him and just jumped him.
I mean, the thing is, he says he didn't felicitate any of the fights. But to be honest with you, being in a classroom, being the teacher in the classroom, you not getting involved and breaking up a fight as a teacher, surely that would be classed as being facilitating, right?
What? Something about facilitating?
I mean, the real question I really have for you, Exodus, is that back in the, I mean, we spoke about this on a previous podcast about bullying and bullies in general.
Yeah.
And I mean, how is this kind of action going to curb that kind of behavior if you got a substitute teacher allowing students to fight each other in classrooms just to get their energy out? I mean, that was his excuse anyway. I mean, how's that going to help anything, Exodus?
It's not gonna help anything because then there's gonna be kids that are gonna want him, like because there's for sure gonna be a bully and the kid that gets bullied in the class, so they're gonna him or the bully's gonna try and find a way to fight the kid he's bullying and just completely just fuck him up, and then it will be all on the teacher because he was the one in charge of them.
I mean, isn't this going to make it easier for bullies to beat up more vulnerable kids?
It's
Because
gonna make it way easier.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, he pleaded not guilty to this particular crime. I see it as a clear crime of because obviously teachers are given a certain level of power. They're given a certain level of responsibility to look after and safeguard children while they're in school. And I feel like he threw that way out of the window. He pleaded not guilty to any of the crimes that he's been processed for. But I definitely personally feel there's definitely a crime here in the sense that as parents would leave their children in school thinking that it's a safe environment, that the teachers that are there to protect their children and keep them safe. It's supposed to be a learning environment where you're meant to pick up your education to help you in your future. How is this teacher doing that? I don't know, to be honest with you. What did they learn? Math teacher as well, to be honest. I don't know how they would have learned anything. But the real question is, if this is a crime, which I believe it is, what kind of punishment do you think, Exodus, should be handed out to this kind of recklessness of a teacher?
2 to 5 years minimum or max.
Was that 3 to 5 years?
2 to 5.
2 to 5 years. Okay, 2 to 5.
Because it's fucked up, but there's way worse shit that people get 2 to 5 years for. Like there are people that get 2 to 5 years just for robbing somebody. So just be yeah. I don't know.
I mean, do you think?
In his picture, he looks like a pedophile.
You know what? I had a very similar feeling myself. The thing is, I wanted to add to that is that he's only 23 years old, and do you think his age has some implications into his actual the way that he conducts himself within a school environment?
Yeah, because he's only 4 or 5 years out of high school, so maybe he's trying to do what he wished his school would have done, which is I don't know, I think he's just trying to make school more fun for the kids, but in reality, it's just wrong.
It's more dangerous. We've got a couple of comments over on YouTube. We've got Days Out TV saying it is a good idea to let them duke it out and all, but he messed up when he didn't get it official. I wished back when I was in school, my teacher tells us to fight so I can mess them up. So I guess it kind of makes we kind of make a valid point in the sense of for example, Days Out would have wanted to have this kind of opportunity to fight certain kids, but in the sense, it's not the response. This is not what school's designed for. It's not designed for this kind of violence. Also, Crazy Gamer Girl said, "What the fuck? Is there something wrong with him? Wouldn't it be easier to make a club after school? It interprets teaching." No, it interrupts teaching, and these kids will have no future. Days Out also added they should put him in a cell and let the inmate duke it all out. Crazy Gamer Girl also added bullies have an easy access to beat the shit out of 3 targets and make kids not want to come to school because of this idiot. It's a crime, and punishment should be 4 to 6 years. Just shows his age. So it looks like there's big repercussions for this kind of behavior, really, within our the people who are with us on today's podcast. And I think I would have to agree. I'm not at all disagreeing in the sense that I think this is a. I mean, the thing is, what you got to bear in mind is that when you're a kid and you're in school, you're there just to make friends and to do a little bit of learning, to be honest, and that's pretty much it, and to build some long lasting friendships with people that you meet who are there. Teachers, on the other hand, they're not there to make friends. They're there to help students sort of walk the right way of living, the right, and this teacher's kind of like blowing that all out of the water in the sense that he's allowing kids to do things which you wouldn't be able to do in real life. Like if you went to work and your boss says to you, can you put these papers away, and then you say, I'll fight you to do it. If I beat you up, I don't have to do it, and if you beat me up, I'll do it. That's not how it works. You get a wage and you do your job. So the thing is, it's giving off the wrong aspects to children, and I'm glad that this was found, and that the student reported this, and that action was taken against Ryan Fisher, and he's definitely the douchebag of today's podcast without any questions. And I do hope they do give him a hefty sentence, because as Exodus said, a lot of people get like 2-year sentences really easily for demeanor crimes like DUIs, unpaid parking fines. And I'm just hoping that he gets a bit of a longer sentence, because he put vulnerable children in vulnerable situations where you're meant to feel safe and not need to worry for your safety, especially in a school environment. So if there's nothing else, Exodus, is anything you wanted to add to this little topic before we move on?
Nope, that's it.
All good, all good. Right, if anybody else has got anything they want to add, please drop it in the comments down below. Obviously, the question I really want to pass off to you guys is, what kind of level of sentencing do you think should be given to this kind of person for doing this kind of crime? And secondly, how traumatized do you think the kids would be? I mean, in the future, would they be quite traumatized? Would they be not traumatized? Would some kids have wanted this to happen? Would some kids not have wanted this to happen? Let me know how you would have personally felt if you were put in this kind of situation. Drop the comments down below, whether you're watching us live, whether you're watching us afterwards on playback, and let me know what you're thinking. But we're moving on to the next topic. Next topic of the day comes from the Telegraph. And this is absolutely, I mean, before I even start this, it's disgusting. If you guys haven't read about this, this is ridiculous. I can't even believe in this day and age shit like this even goes down. And this happened in the United Kingdom. So, pensioner arrested for murder after his home was burgled, was protecting his wife neighbour's claim. So basically, this man, Richard Osborne Brooke, he was arrested for potentially for murder. 2 burglars broke into his home, attempting to rob him. He got a knife, stabbed one of the robbers in a very critical place, and basically killed the guy. The other guy fled, and he's currently being sought for arrest, but hasn't been found yet, I don't think. But basically, this guy now is facing a murder charge because he defended his home. Now, I know a lot of people won't understand this, especially if you live in America, where you have the right to defend your property and to use force, what is it called? Justifiable force, against whoever your attacker is. So if someone comes at you with a gun, you can come at them with a gun. If they come at you with a baseball bat, you can't use a gun. You can use a baseball bat or a knife or something like that. So over here is very different. The laws don't work that way. If you're being burgled, believe it or not, the person in your home, if they trip up on something or they fall over or get hurt while robbing your house, they can claim for injuries against you. That's how fucking stupid the United Kingdom is with things like this. Yeah, that's right, Exodus. That's right. That shit is real. Yeah, it's real. It's real. Okay, so basically, this old age pensioner, his house was being robbed. 2 people comes in. He stabs one of them, kills them in self-defense. The other one takes off, and he's now facing a murder.
I'm glad I
a
live in the
murder
US.
investigation. Yeah, you are. I'm telling you what. In some respects, I wish I was in the United States sometimes. So Peshner was arrested for murder after his home was burgled. Was protecting his wife. Neighbors said on Thursday as a former minister attacked. Minister attacked police for being heavy-handed. Richard Osborne Brooks, 78-year-old, was released on police bail after being questioned on suspicions of murder for several hours following his arrest just after midnight on Wednesday. Police have ordered him to return on a date in early May. It has now emerged that the pensioner who was confronted by two intruders, one of them armed with a screwdriver at his home in southeast London, may have been trying to protect his wife, Maureen. One of the men went upstairs while his accomplice scuffled with Mr. Osborne Brooke and was stabbed. The wounded burglar fled the house but died of his injuries in the street outside, despite attempts by the emergency services to save him. So even though the fucker tried to rob someone, they fucking try to save him anyway, spending tax money on useless things. Detectives investigating the death opened up drains in the street on the Thursday in an apparent bid to find weapons or any other clues in the case. Neighbors said they thought Mr. Osborne Brooks' wife and had been sleeping upstairs at the time of the break-in. Valerie Barclay, 63, said he deserves a medal. You can't break into people's houses, especially when he's a carer for his wife and they were in bed. This is a pensioner who has worked all his life and wants to live and die quietly. Nick Myatt, who lives close to the couple, said, I saw him a few times. He's a lovely old man and he cares for his wife, who I think has dementia or is disabled. He's a nice man, nice to talk to. He's an old man. It's a shame, really. I hope the law sees sense and lets him off. The arrest of Mr. Osborne has sparked a debate over whether the law gives householders enough protection in the event of someone injuring or even killing an intruder. A neighbor who lives several doors away described Mr. Osborne as a nice guy. The elderly man who declined to give his name said he's retired, but a nice guy, keeps himself to himself, goes out shopping once a week, and that's about it. So the thing is, what the question I really want to pass off to you guys is I mean, obviously, I know there's a few people who watch the show and they're actually in the United Kingdom. For those of you who are in the US, obviously, this is going to be a bit of a shock to your system, considering the fact that if someone burgles your house over here, you actually can't protect yourself. To be honest, you have to kind of let them do their thing, get on the police and let them deal with it, which is fucking ridiculous, but that's just the way it is. So obviously I want to bring Exodus D into this. Exodus,
Yep.
being an American in the United States of America, where do you stand with this hypocrisy?
Honestly, like, I feel like the rule that if someone burgles you in the UK and you can't defend yourself, that's like really like fucked, because you want to protect your shit and not have any be stolen, and protect like any like wife or kids you want to have. But if you do that, you have to go away to fucking prison. So that's like fuck. So like, yes, that needs to change somehow.
I mean, I think I definitely agree with you. I think the law needs definitely revising in the UK in the sense of there should be no reason, should be absolutely no reason why you should not be able to defend yourself up to the teeth in your own home if someone breaks in. They are the intruder. They're the ones who are coming in, you could say in the form of terrorism. Because they terrorize you when they come into your home. They're not invited guests. They are people who are there to cause harm, to do you an injustice, and also to take away your freedom. They actually, I mean, if someone breaks into your home, they pretty much have you as hostage if you don't react violently or anything like that. And they demand and they terrorize you while they're in your home. So I don't actually understand why the law is the way that it is. It should definitely be changed, and there is no reason why it's the way it is, which I completely agree with you. Exodus, we got a couple of comments in the chat as well from Days Out TV. I'm sorry, but if someone tries to rob me, it's over. Lol. And Brian Lloyd said, yeah, our reasonable force thing here is ridiculous. When someone breaks into your house with the intent of breaking the law, you see red and it's you or them, especially if they have a weapon. 100% agree with you there on that one, Brian. ZentTM said, if someone tries to rob me, that's fine. But if they take my PS4, they're dead. Okay. Brian Lord also added, the minute they cross your doorway to rob you, I personally believe they leave their legal rights at the door. And I couldn't agree more. And I think, you know what? I don't want to be a lawbreaker, to be honest with you, but I will encourage and I will say to everybody on the podcast, being here myself in the United Kingdom, if you're watching this and you live in the UK, if someone crosses that line, if they break into your home, if they break into your personal property, if you're in a car and someone tries to hijack you, I'm telling you now, do not give a fuck about the law. You react. You protect what is civilly yours, what is duly yours. Because the more people that stand up and say, no, this is fucking wrong, the more likely we will be able to make a change to the law, the more we'll be able to make actual amendments to the law so that it actually protects us over criminals. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm going to show you something which is going to shock a lot of people in the podcast today. And that is that they actually have made a fucking shrine for the guy who died, who got stabbed, the robber, the burglar who got stabbed. They made a shrine. So a sick shrine destroyed. Angry locals tear down vile tributes to burglar killed by the old age pensioner Richard Osborne Brooks. Over 20 bunches of flowers and messages dedicated to the burglar Henry Vincent were placed by members of his traveling community just yards from pensioner Richard Osborne Brooks' home. And this was on the 9th of April 2018. So as you can see here, I'm going to play this little video clip for you guys. There's actual people putting flowers down, okay, mourning the death of the person. Look, and then the local community coming on and just ripping the whole fucking thing down, basically, of where this guy died on the street. How ridiculous is that? I mean, literally, the guy tried to rob someone, and now there's people coming to put flowers up to make a to mourn the death of somebody on that who was committing a crime. And this guy, he's part of the community who lived there, and he went there and he ripped it all down, basically. And they actually called the police, and I'll read this to you guys. I will read this out to you guys. It was absolutely ridiculous. Let me just read this out 1 second. So, oh, come on. So a woman with scissors was seen cutting floral tributes from lamppost fences and street signs and leaving them on the ground. The move came at around 10 p.m. after pals of Henry Vincent outraged residents by setting up the shrine yards from the scene of his final crime. More than 20 bunches of flowers and messages to the career villain were placed by fellow members of his traveling community near Richard's home. If you don't know what traveling community is, it basically means like Irish travelers who basically live in caravans, which are like portable homes in the UK. They're legally not allowed to live anywhere, to be honest, because they don't actually have an actual residence. But one of the 70-year-old Richard neighbors said it was safe for him to return. That shrine would turn his stomach. These people should accept Vincent was the architect of his own death, yet they came here and rubbed it in Richard's face. They have no shame. Richard is the real victim here. So this is like one of the cards that was written there. Daddy, I'm gonna miss you, Henry boy, more than anything in this world. There won't be 1 minute of the day or night that I won't be thinking of you. Forever and always, I'm in my heart and my mind. I love you, Henry boy, all the world. Love your daddy. To my son, Henry boy, is that my phone? I don't know if that's my phone. You was too good to walk this earth. I knew you believed in God. I've got your Bible to prove it. As the something says, my son, it's countdown. I'll be with you soon. As I said, it's countdown. It's fucking sickening. I mean, literally, these are the pictures that I'm showing you guys. This is what was outside, literally next door to this guy's house where he just got robbed, and this is what happened afterwards when they obviously cut them all down. Which I think, too right, it should have been done no matter what. But they actually had to call out community police officers. This is the actual guy who died from the actual burglary. This is Vincent. Who actually was the one who had the screwdriver and got stabbed and died on that street. And the assailant that they're actually looking for is this person. Where the hell is that picture? Is he here? Oh, he's not. Oh, here. Is this person on the left? So the manhunt over. Dead Hitcher, Green burglar's accomplice. Cops caught by cops after 16-day manhunt. So he was actually caught after 16 days. This was the accomplice that was with him. So it's actually quite sickening to think about that. The fact that these people are so fucking messed up. It's unreal. And I want to leave this picture on here so that people can actually realize that this is the guy who fucking deserved to die, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm actually happy that he is actually dead. We have a couple of comments coming in hot and live for you guys. So we had something from Brian. No, that's not. It was from Crazy Gamer Girl. Oh wow, well that's the UK for you. Lol. Yeah, good on him. He does deserve a medal. He was defending his home and his wife. If you don't do shit they want you to do, you're pretty much dead in UK. I hate people who rob OAPs. Wow, really? They're probably the people who fucking know him. Makes me sick. That's so insensitive to the poor guy and his wife. People have no common sense, and I'll have to agree with that no matter what. I think there is just absolute diabolical. It's just absolutely sickening, to be honest with you. Also, just to bring you guys into this, we've got Tara K, everybody. Tara K has joined us on the last topic of today's conversation. So, welcome, Miss Tara K. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
So basically, I'm gonna bring Exodus D into this, and Tara will come in second. Exodus, piece of shit, right? Piece of shit people,
Yeah.
right?
Always.
I mean, they made a fucking shrine, dude.
Yeah, that's fucked up. That's for people that are for like heroes and shit, not for fucking career villains. As I said, which means that he's done more than one fucking crime in his whole life. So it's like the fucking praising someone that broke the law.
I mean, what I love is how they bring the aspect of God into this. You know, like he was a big believer in God. They've got his Bible with them. You know, if the fucking guy believed in God, where the hell in the Bible does it say you can steal and rob from people? Where the fuck does it say that?
No.
It's just ridiculous.
No, where's that I know of?
It's literally, it's like one of those topics, it's one of those news headlines that it makes you lost for words. You don't know how to express the anger that you're feeling towards this kind of hypocrisy, you know. I mean, Miss Tara K, I mean, obviously you also live in America, and I mean, could you imagine there's a guy who died from a crime and then they make a fucking shrine for the guy?
It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, what's your personal takeaway from? I mean, obviously you've heard the debate with the UK law. I mean, where is your personal takeaway, especially the fact that the gun laws are planning to be changed in the United States? I mean, does this not make you guys wonder more that you should protect your Second Amendment rights, your Fifth Amendment rights against tyranny, and the Fourth Amendment rights, so that you guys have got the power to take the law, as it were, into your own hands to defend yourself against those who are going to try and cause you harm?
Well, I think you should have every right to defend yourself. If someone's going to come at you with something, you should be able to defend yourself right back.
Mm. Mm. Um, I mean, Exodus, is there anything you wanted to add to this conversation before we end today's podcast?
Yeah, fuck that guy.
I agree.
Zentium said, as the last comment on there, I feel like people are getting stupider every second, and I could not agree anymore on that particular topic. There, I think you're definitely right. I think there is definitely a reason for that. I don't know if anybody else wants to join into the podcast before we jump out. I have given everybody rights to join if they want to join. If you have anything you want to add, you can just jump in and give us your opinion. Brian and Crazy, I've given you both podcast invites if you want to join. But that's pretty much where we're going to end today's podcast, guys. I just wanted to say a massive thank you to obviously Mr. Exodus D.
Always, anytime.
And obviously the infamous Tara K for joining us after a very hectic week.
No problem.
And we will be back obviously on Friday's podcast, which is coming up this goddamn Friday. So be sure to be here for those upcoming topics. If you guys want to join us and you want to be part of the conversation, you want to get involved as one of the guests, all you got to do is be on the Discord chat, type in the chat comments on Discord that you want to be a guest, and we'll get you in on the next show. Very, very easy. We normally have about 2 to 3 guests maximum, so be sure to be here or be square, as it were. Also, for the topics that will happen on that Friday podcast, that will be going out tomorrow. So be sure to go check out the Discord link if you haven't done so before to see what the topics will be that will be coming up. So you guys have a better idea of what the discussions will be, and let me know about your comments down below. Let me know what you think about this last story and the first story and anything in between. I'd love to read your comments down below. As always, whether you're watching us live, whether you're watching us afterwards, please be sure to drop them down below. I love to hear what you guys have got to say about these particular topics that we've had on today's podcast. But until Friday, guys, until Friday, as always, stay safe, stay awesome, and peace.
And